Not every thief wears a mask. Some hide behind holiness, preach virtue, yet steal in darkness. If you have ever lived in a Lagos public compound before, then you will understand that the real challenge is not only about squeezing into one room, queuing for your turn at the bathroom, or fighting over who should fetch water first at the only tap. The real headache is protecting your food. Because in such compounds, the unwritten law is simple. If you don't guard your pot, you are automatically volunteering it to the community. Jennifer, a hardworking caterer in her late 20s, knew this truth all too well. She cooked day and night for weddings, birthdays, and every type of social gathering you could think of. By the time she came back from her exhausting catering events, she would be too tired to cook for herself. So her small kitchen pot was her lifeline, her comfort. But lately, the contents of that lifeline had been vanishing. Pots of fresh stew she left simmering at night would magically disappear by morning. Bowls of jollof rice would reduce to crumbs as if rats had learned to use spoons. And the final insult came one Tuesday morning when she returned to find her pot of pepper soup, carefully prepared with goat meat and expensive spices, completely empty. Not even oil floated at the bottom. At first, Jennifer thought she was imagining things. Maybe she forgot she had eaten more than she realized. Maybe she gave some to Cordelia, her closest friend in the compound, and simply forgot. But the pattern kept repeating itself, and each time it grew bolder. Whoever was stealing her food wasn't just greedy. They were shameless. She tried to dismiss it until one night, her prized pot of white soup, the soup she had prepared specially for her sick aunt in Surulere, disappeared without a trace. That was when she knew it wasn't ordinary compound mischief. Somebody was deliberately tampering with her food. Jennifer began to suspect everyone. The night guard, Solomon, who always seemed to know too much about every tenant's movement. The new couple in room 3, who claimed they were always too busy with work to cook. Even Mama Nkechi, the sharp-tongued woman who was forever complaining about the cost of Maggi and palm oil, yet somehow always had a full stomach. The compound was full of suspects, but none of them could be confronted without proof. One night, sitting on her bed and staring at an empty pot, Jennifer muttered under her breath, "Whoever you are, you will soon collect from me. I will make sure you regret this theft." It was more than anger. It was the voice of a woman determined to fight back. And from that very night, the compound entered a new season of drama. One where a thief would be caught, and everybody would soon realize that not every pot of soup in Lagos is safe to steal. In compounds like Jennifer's, walls have ears and gutters have eyes. By afternoon, the whispers had started. Who is eating Jenny's food? The corridor became a courtroom without chairs. Mama Nkechi swore it must be small boys from outside, those ones that push wheelbarrows and sniff stew like bloodhounds. Cordelia was more practical. "My sister, a thief who knows your cooking time, it's not an outsider. It is someone who has the key to this compound," she said, folding her arms like a detective. Jennifer sighed. She was tired of theories. She wanted proof. She began to observe. The night guard Solomon always appeared at the kitchen passage at odd hours with his torch dangling like a lazy star. He was friendly, too friendly, always offering to help carry her cooler after events, always lingering when she opened her pot. The new couple in room 3, Tunde and Vera, were suspiciously neat. Their kitchen corners smelled like new plastic, not like people who had used a pot even once. And then there was Brother Kingsley, tall, polished, the unofficial pastor of morning devotions. He walked through the compound like a man who had conquered temptation with fasting alone. Still, nothing stuck. Jennifer tried marking her pot lid with chalk, turning the handle to face the wall, even counting meat pieces like a banker balancing a ledger. Each morning, the chalk would be distorted, the handle slightly shifted, and the meat count would reduce with the precision of a thief who had passed mathematics. Once, she hid a spoon under the pot so it would make a sound if someone lifted it. By dawn, the spoon lay on the floor like a silent witness that forgot how to scream. She stared at it and almost laughed. This thief had patience and choirmaster fingers. That evening, the corridor turned into a salon of speculation. "Maybe it is a rat," one tenant offered. "Rat way fit unlock pot?" Cordelia fired back. Even Solomon joined the conversation, chuckling too loudly. Madam Jenny, if it is me, I for dawn confess, but I am a knight soldier of God. The way he said it made Jennifer's teeth itch. She smiled thinly, thanked everyone for their concern, and locked her door. Enough was enough. She needed a plan that the thief couldn't dance around. A plan that would expose not only the stomach behind the theft, but the face, and do it in a way nobody could deny. Her mind began to sketch something fiery, unforgettable, and absolutely legal. The first plan was the simplest: watch the pot. In compounds like Jennifer's, surveillance didn't require high-tech cameras, just stubbornness and a strong mosquito coil. So she and Cordelia drew up a roster as if they were military recruits. Cordelia took the early shift from 10 p.m. to midnight, while Jennifer would take over in the deep hours when stomachs usually made their most sinful decisions. That night, Cordelia dragged a noisy plastic chair to the kitchen corner, tied a wrapper around her shoulders, and pretended to be browsing her phone. But pretending to be casual was one thing. Surviving mosquitoes was another. The insects of Lagos compounds are bold, with no respect for personal space. Within 30 minutes, they had turned Cordelia's thighs into a banquet. She slapped, hissed, and muttered insults, but the buzzing only increased. By midnight, she gave up on dignity and rubbed herself with palm oil, muttering, "If they like, make them lick pepper soup and lick me join. I no send." When Jennifer's turn came, the night had grown cooler, quieter. She wore a hoodie and positioned herself near her window, where she could see the reflection of her kitchen stove bouncing faintly off a silver basin. The compound had its own music, a tap dripping rhythmically, a baby coughing in room 4, a distant generator groaning like an old man forced to work night duty. She focused, waiting for that one suspicious sound, the soft scrape of a lid, the greedy clink of spoon against pot. At 2:17 a.m., her breath caught. A shadow drifted across the corridor wall, pausing as though listening. Jennifer's heart beat like a talking drum. She leaned closer to the slit in her curtain, eyes straining. The figure moved again, slowly, stealthily. She held her breath, expecting the lid to lift, expecting to hear the thief's hunger betray them. Instead, the shadow passed by and faded into silence. A few seconds later, the night guard coughed near the gate, and Jennifer cursed softly under her breath. False alarm. Still, she didn't relax. Twice, she thought she heard a faint sniff of pepper. But both times it was only a stray cat slinking past, its green eyes flashing like torchlight. By the time dawn painted the compound pale gray, Jennifer's legs were cramped, her back stiff, and her patience thin as oil beans batter. And then she saw it. Her pot, which had been filled to the brim the evening before, was now mysteriously half empty. No splashes on the floor, no scattered grains of rice, no sound to betray the crime, just smooth, clean absence. Whoever had taken it had hands like a surgeon and timing like a thief born of midnight. Cordelia stumbled out of her room, rubbing her swollen ankles, and froze when she saw the pot. "But Jenny, I swear I didn't even sleep. I day there," she said, almost in tears. Jennifer laughed bitterly, shaking her head. "This thief gets a PhD for patience. We blink once, they collect twice." That morning, as neighbors fetched water and children ran about with toothbrushes foaming at their lips, Jennifer noticed the sideways glances. Some pitied her, others smirked, as if she was exaggerating. The caretaker even cracked a joke. "If I'm the one, I'll just padlock my pot." That nearly earned him a full basin of soapy water on his head. Jennifer knew one thing now. Watching alone wouldn't solve this case. Whoever was stealing her food had mastered shadows. She needed a plan that would catch not just the hand, but the stomach behind the crime. In the world of public compounds, people respect one thing more than religion: stomach power. And Jennifer understood this truth better than anyone. Watching the pot hadn't worked. Splitting shifts with Cordelia only gave the mosquitoes more food than she had left in her kitchen. If she was going to catch this thief, she needed a trap that the belly itself could not deny. The idea came to her like a whisper while she sat staring at her empty stew pot. She would fight hunger with hunger, but on her own terms. It wasn't wickedness. God forbid she harmed anyone. It was simply poetic justice. The thief wanted food, then they would get food. But a kind of food that would make them confess with both their mouth and their stomach. The next morning, Jennifer went to Mile 12 Market with a shopping list that looked suspicious. She bought goat meat, fresh and tender, the kind that calls to greedy mouths. She bought crayfish, scent leaves, and enough seasoning tubes to make angels weep. And then came the centerpiece. Pepper. Plenty of pepper. She bought Cameroon pepper until the seller squinted at her and asked, "Auntie, who do you want to punish like this?" Jennifer smiled faintly. "It's a small project." To crown it, she stopped by a stall that sold traditional herbs and bought a harmless laxative, the type local women used when they said, "Makes stomach soften." Back in her kitchen, Jennifer tied her wrapper tight and got to work like a chemist preparing an experiment. She washed the goat meat thoroughly and boiled it till it released that rich aroma that could call even a fasting pastor out of prayer. She fried onions, added palm oil, poured in the crayfish, and then attacked with peppers, fresh, dried, blended. She coughed, sneezed, wiped tears, but kept stirring. The air grew so spicy that even Cordelia, who came to check on her, had to cover her nose with the edge of her scarf. "Jenny, you want to kill someone?" Cordelia asked, half laughing, half choking. Jennifer's eyes gleamed. "Not kill, my sister, just to correct manners." When the pepper soup finally simmered into perfection, Jennifer carefully measured in the laxative, just enough to guarantee an urgent morning appointment with the bathroom, not enough to harm. She tasted a tiny spoonful, and her tongue almost jumped from her mouth. Yes, this was not just food. It was a confession cooked inside a pot. They set the stage. Jennifer placed the pot neatly on the stove in her corner of the shared kitchen. She adjusted the pot cover so it looked casually forgotten, left a ladle leaning against it, like temptation itself, and even sprinkled a few pieces of goat meat on top to announce the delicacy. She deliberately left her kitchen door half open and dimmed her light so that anyone walking by would see opportunity shining. That night she didn't sleep. She lay on her bed, wrapper tied, ears sharp, eyes fixed on the corridor through the slit of her curtain. The compound was quiet. A baby whimpered, a tap dripped, a radio hummed faintly from someone who forgot to switch it off. Around midnight, Jennifer heard soft humming, low, tuneful, almost like a hymn. She froze. The sound drifted past her door, then paused near the kitchen. The air thickened with pepper and suspense. Jennifer smiled to herself in the dark. The trap was set. The actor was in place and the stage was ready. Tonight, the thief will eat, but by morning the whole compound would feast, not on food, but on truth. The first sound was so soft that Jennifer almost thought she had imagined it. A careful shuffle of feet, followed by the faint scrape of a lid against metal. Her heart jumped. This was it. For days she had been waiting, sleepless and restless, and now the thief had walked straight into her theater. She lay still on her bed, her wrapper pulled to her chin, listening as the night unfolded. The ladle clinked once, then again, but not carelessly, delicately, like the hands of someone who had rehearsed this crime too many times. Whoever it was knew the pot, respected the weight, and scooped with precision. Jennifer could hear the low hum of appreciation, a sound like someone blessing the food under their breath. She almost laughed, but she held it in. Patience was the key. If she burst out now, the thief might drop the pot and run, and the story would remain a rumor. No, she wanted proof. Proof so undeniable that even the thief's shadow would confess. The smell of the pepper soup floated through the corridor, rich and fiery, announcing temptation fulfilled. She could picture it. The steam rising, the ladle dipping, greedy eyes shining. The steps retreated slowly, not hurried, as though the thief carried treasure. Jennifer counted in her head. 1, 2, 3, until 60. Then again. Only when the silence became thick did she get up and move to the window. Through the slit of her curtain, she saw the pot. It sat smaller now, its surface visibly reduced, the goat meat fewer. She lifted the lid a crack, and the spicy steam hit her nose like confirmation. She replaced it gently and smiled in the dark. The trap had been sprung. All that was left was dawn. But dawn in a Lagos compound never comes quietly. At exactly 4:38 a.m., the peace was shattered. First came hurried footsteps, heavy and frantic, echoing along the corridor like a man late for judgment. Then a strangled groan, followed by the thunder of a fist on wood. "Open the door. In the name of God, open this door." Jennifer sat up slowly, as if the voice had been expected. She tied her wrapper tighter and leaned against the wall, savoring the chaos building outside. The banging intensified. The bathroom door rattled, threatening to fall off its hinges. Another voice came from inside, irritated. Wait for your turn. You're not the only one with a stomach. That was followed by laughter from a half-awake tenant who muttered, "Even holy men get emergency." The cries grew louder, desperate, strained with shame. Jennifer recognized the voice. It was Brother Kingsley, the same man who had spent months parading holiness like a badge. The same man who warned young men to fast and pray against the flesh. And here he was, pounding the bathroom door with his own flesh rebelling against him. Jennifer rose, her face calm, her steps measured. She opened her door into the corridor just as neighbors began peeping out, eyes wide with curiosity. Cordelia met her gaze, her lips trembling with suppressed laughter. "Jenny," she whispered, "this your soup is a testimony." Jennifer only smiled faintly. The morning had come, and the compound was about to witness a revelation spicier than any pepper soup. The bathroom door in a Nigerian compound is like the United Nations headquarters. Everyone wants access, nobody wants to wait, and conflict erupts daily. But that morning the quarrel was no ordinary quarrel. It was a battle between pepper soup and pride. The pounding shook the entire corridor. "In Jesus' name, please open this door," the voice cried. Tenants came rushing out, wrappers loosely tied, eyes half asleep but burning with curiosity. The voice was unmistakable. Rich, commanding even in agony, Brother Kingsley. Inside the bathroom, poor Mike, the university student, shouted back, Pastor, small patience, please, I just started my own." His voice cracked between anger and laughter. The crowd exploded. Someone shouted, "Pastor, don't have patience again?" Another added, "Please, fruit of the Spirit." The mocking grew, laughter mixing with disbelief. Kingsley's tall frame doubled over in the corridor. Sweat streamed down his face as he leaned against the wall, knocking again with trembling fists. "Please, brethren, my stomach, it is on fire," he groaned, staggering like a drunk. Children giggled behind their mothers' wrappers, whispering, "Pastor Day dance!" Jennifer appeared at her door like an actress making a late entrance. She tied her wrapper firmly and stepped into the corridor, her face calm, but her eyes gleaming. She walked slowly, not rushing, and everyone turned towards her as though they knew the story was about to break. She bent slightly, lifted the lid of her pot, and showed the hollow bottom. "This pot," she said softly, but the words carried. "I cooked it last night, goat meat pepper soup. This morning, empty." The crowd gasped. Some clapped hands to mouths, others leaned forward like spectators at a boxing match. Kingsley froze, eyes widening. He opened his mouth, but only a choked groan came out. He staggered again, clutching his belly. Someone muttered loudly, "So it is the pastor who steals food?" The gossip spread like wildfire. The bathroom door opened, and Mike stepped out with his bucket, startled by the mob. Before he could move, Kingsley shoved him aside and dove into the toilet with the speed of a man running from destiny. The lock clicked, followed immediately by a long, tortured groan that echoed across the compound. The tenants burst into laughter. Some slapped their thighs, others bent double. One shouted, "Preach from there, pastor." Another added, "Deliver yourself first before you deliver us." Even the landlord's wife, who was known for her sternness, covered her mouth to hide a giggle. Jennifer simply crossed her arms and stood silently, her expression a mixture of triumph and pity. She had no need to gloat. The pepper soup was already preaching her message. By the time Kingsley finally stumbled out, his once pristine shirt was soaked, his proud shoulders hunched. He tried to speak, but another cramp bent him double again. The compound roared. His holiness had fallen, not to sin, but to soup. In compounds like this, proof is sweeter than gossip. And Jennifer had proof. Her empty pot was all the evidence she needed. She placed it on a stool in the corridor, lifted the lid again for all to see, and spoke in a voice that carried the weight of justice. "Last night I cooked pepper soup, expensive meat, enough spices to feed a family. I left it right here. By morning, gone." She paused, letting the silence thicken. "But God is not asleep. Whoever ate it is now confessing with their stomach." The tenants erupted. "Ah!" Mama Nkechi shouted, slapping her chest. "I talk am. Something is fishy." Solomon, the night guard, who always liked to insert himself into stories, pointed dramatically. "Ah, pastor, I saw him walking in the corridor, humming a hymn." The crowd turned to him. "Why have you not talked since?" someone asked. Solomon shrugged. "I day guard gate, my eye no reach pot." The laughter nearly carried him away. Kingsley tried to compose himself. His baritone voice, the same one that led morning devotions, now came out shaky. "Brethren, listen, I was fasting. Maybe someone spiced my tea." His excuse was swallowed by a fresh cramp. He doubled over, clutching his stomach, and the crowd roared again. Cordelia stepped forward, eyes blazing with delight. "Tea? You mean pepper soup tea? Pastor, which fasting person will steal goat meat pepper soup in the night?" Her words set off another round of cackling. Even the quietest tenants, the ones who never spoke during quarrels, were now nodding, laughing, adding fuel. Jennifer didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She pointed at the pot, then at Kingsley. "This man, who claims holiness, has been the one robbing me for weeks. Not rats, not children, not strangers, but him. Let the truth be known." Kingsley's eyes darted from face to face, searching for sympathy. But in compounds, reputation is like a wrapper cloth. Once stained, it's hard to bleach. Even Mama Nkechi, who had always respected his prayers, now hissed. "All this, your holiness, is wash fake," someone shouted. "Make him lead us in bathroom devotion." Another yelled, "Pastor, preach a pepper sermon." The laughter was merciless. Kingsley tried to walk away, but his body betrayed him. Another sharp groan forced him to double over, gripping the wall. The image sealed his fate. The proud man of prayer, broken by food he didn't own. Jennifer did not smile, but her silence spoke volumes. She turned back to her room, lifted her pot, and carried it inside. Justice had been served hot, and the entire compound had tasted it. Kingsley lingered only a moment longer, then limped towards his door like a soldier retreating after defeat. Behind him, the gossip river flowed without end. Hypocrite, thief, Pastor Pepper. In a compound, nicknames are punishments that last longer than fines. Kingsley had earned his, and there was no escape. When the sun rose fully that morning, the compound was no longer a home. It was a theater. Nobody went about their business. People lingered in the corridor, waiting. The story of Brother Kingsley's bathroom disaster had already traveled faster than Ikeja electric light. By noon, even the landlord himself had heard. Mr. Okun, a stout man with a bald head that shone like polished calabash, stormed in with his wife at his side. He didn't waste time. "Everybody outside. Now. This compound is not a forest." His voice carried the authority of unpaid rent receipts. Tenants scrambled, dragging stools and benches, gathering like obedient pupils. Jennifer sat quietly with her pot beside her, a silent witness. Cordelia leaned close and whispered, "See his landlord on fire. Today will be sweet." Jennifer only folded her arms. She wasn't looking for revenge, just for her peace. When the assembly was set, the landlord cleared his throat. "I have heard a lot of gossip this morning. They said a thief is among you and that he is a food thief. For my compound? Ah." He shook his head dramatically. "And worse, they said he is a man of God. Pastor, or what is your name?" All eyes turned to Kingsley. He looked smaller than usual, his proud shoulders slumped, his Bible clutched like a shield. Sweat dotted his forehead, though the afternoon was cool. He stood slowly, voice breaking. "My people, brethren, I have sinned. The aroma tempted me, Sister Jennifer's cooking." He paused, the shame choking him. "I could not resist." The crowd exploded. Some gasped, others clapped mockingly. Mama Nkechi jumped up. "I said, spirit don't eat meat, it is man that eats meat." She wagged her finger at him like a prophetess. Solomon, the night guard, added salt. "I even saw walking around that night. Pastor, I salute you." The laughter drowned his words. Jennifer rose gracefully and spoke. "Landlord, I did not want disgrace. I only wanted my food to remain mine. I set a trap, and truth revealed itself. He is guilty." She gestured at the empty pot. Mr. Okun nodded gravely. "This compound will not harbor hypocrisy. From today, anybody who steals food, clothes, or even a toothbrush will pay a fine, write an apology, and wash the compound for 1 week. Pastor, you..." He pointed a thick finger at Kingsley. "You go pay Sister Jennifer back for all the food you have eaten. We will estimate the cost, and no more leading morning prayers. Humble yourself first." The crowd erupted again, half in cheers, half in jeers. Kingsley muttered, "I will pay, and I will leave at the end of the week." His voice was small, defeated. As the meeting ended, Jennifer carried her pot back inside, her dignity intact. Justice had not shouted. It had simply simmered like soup, slow, steady, undeniable. The following days were like Harmattan after rain, lighter, easier. Jennifer cooked again without fear, the air filled with the sweet smell of tomatoes and pepper frying in oil. Tenants passed her door respectfully now, greeting her with smiles that carried admiration. Even children ran past, chanting, "Auntie Jenny, our pepper champion." She only shook her head and laughed softly. Kingsley, on the other hand, became a shadow of himself. He avoided the corridor, avoided eyes, and avoided even the bathroom during peak hours. When he did step out, he moved quickly, head bent like someone walking through rain without an umbrella. The laughter and whispers trailed him everywhere. On Thursday, movers arrived with a rusty wheelbarrow and 2 apprentices. They carried his belongings out piece by piece: a wooden bed, a Bible stand, a few shirts neatly folded, and 1 battered kettle. The tenants watched from doorways, pretending to sweep or fetch water, but their eyes followed every item like spectators at a final show. Jennifer stood at her door quietly. When Kingsley passed with his last box, he paused. His eyes met hers, filled with a mixture of regret and exhaustion. "Sister Jennifer," he said, his voice low. "You are a good woman. I am sorry. Your food, your gift, it was too much for me. That was my downfall." Jennifer's face remained calm. "Eat with permission next time, Brother Kingsley," she replied softly. "God is not against asking." He managed to make a weak smile, nodded, and walked out of the compound gate for the last time. The clang of the gate behind him sounded like a full stop at the end of a noisy chapter. By evening, the compound had turned his shame into comedy. When anyone banged too hard on the bathroom door, neighbors shouted, "Remember Pepper Covenant." Laughter would echo through the corridor, the story of Kingsley forever stitched into compound folklore. That night, Jennifer and Cordelia shared a pot of jollof rice, sitting on the steps with plates balanced on their laps. Cordelia teased, "Jenny, please package this recipe. Sell it as repentance pepper soup." Jennifer laughed properly for the first time in weeks. Peace had returned to her room, and her food was hers again. As the night settled, the compound hummed with normal life. Children chasing each other, radios playing old Fuji, neighbors gossiping about rent. Jennifer leaned back against the wall, smiling. In the quiet of her heart, she whispered, "God of public compounds, thank you. You do this one well." The compound found a new rhythm. Tunde and Vera finally started cooking, their doorway rich with the timid smell of first attempts. Solomon kept to his gate, saluting food from a respectful distance. Mom and Nkechi's lectures shifted from the price of Mandy to the dignity of minding your business. And Jennifer became the quiet center again, her kitchen warm, her door steady, her pot hers. On Sunday afternoon, she cooked and shared small bowls with the elderly widow in room 7 and the tailor who always returned home late. Not because she had to prove anything, but because kindness was who she was before the thefts and who she would remain after. As she handed a bowl to Cordelia, her friend winked. "Yeah, we have won, but we are still human," Jennifer nodded. "Victory without bitterness is a delicacy you can't buy in the market." She washed her pot at dusk, water catching the last sun like gold dust. The corridor hummed with children and radio noise. Somewhere, a new tenant tried the bathroom door, and everyone burst into laughter for no reason they could explain. Jennifer leaned on the railing, breathing the ordinary sweetness of a day without drama. "God of public compounds," she murmured, "thank you. You do this one well." Character is not the sound of your prayer, it is the taste of your secret actions. In our community, truth may walk slowly, but it always arrives with the sun. What lesson did you learn from this story? Let us know in the comments section. If you've ever lived in a Nigerian compound, you know the drama never ends. Share this story with friends and family so they can laugh and learn too.